Welcome to this episode of the Million Dollar Mastermind. I'm Larry Weidel, and before we get started, if you want to know exactly how to win again and again, go to weidelonwinning.com/webinar now to watch something I've put together for you. Now let's get going into this episode of Million Dollar Mastermind. I'm having the time of my life talking with my good buddy from Possum Trot or something like that, Texas, Bill Orender. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Larry, glad to have you again.
And appreciate you wanting to do this. And we're in the process of Bill just interviewing the heck out of me. And this is another session. So, Bill, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
You know, Larry, when I think of you, I think of the art also. You're a very prolific artist, and you're talking about your show up in Southampton this weekend. And I keep thinking you've really building a hierarchy, building a business, building a company was your art form also. And what are the parallels between your artwork and your construction and your the tapestry of your business?
Well, you know, Bill, I'm glad you asked that because I think it's I wasn't aware of it. But I realized it later that training in art that I got early in my life, from composition, how colors work together, how composition works together, how things are structured. There is obviously an art, a strategy, rules, styles, and it's a matter of taking you're taking paint, putting it down on a flat surface and trying to create a 3D type effect. And there's ways you go about it, all kind of different ways. And when you get these in your mind, it's a matter of taking chaotic combination of stuff and making order out of it and make it presentable. In art, it's making something aesthetic that will appeal to other people that want to look at. But, it's similar like in music. Music, you got all these sounds and notes, but how do they fit together with chord structures and sequences? Which chords play off of each other together? How do you, all of that is kind of like art, because you're taking and you're learning a structure to things that maybe you can't see and hold. But these ideas are very real. And so what happened was, Bill, I didn't realize those organizing principles. Of course, then I went and studied architecture at Georgia Tech. But the principles of design or composing that you learn in music and art, because I studied a lot of music too. They're very transferable to business and give you an insane advantage if you are building an organization, because you know how to take chaos and turn it into something organized for the project at hand, and that's what you do in music or art. Is you're creating a project. They're all different, but you're taking everything that could be, pulling it out of the air and putting it into making a thing happen. And that's what you do in leadership with teams in business or whatever kind of sports, whatever kind of team you've got, politics. You get your ideas down, you get the project in front of everybody, and you get a method of attack, a game plan that has some rhyme and reason to it. And that was one of the things I told you I thought we'd be good to talk about in terms of having systems and process. These become ingrained in you, and it's just instinctively. I don't think I've ever told you this. When I went to high school up in the West Hampton Beach High School and graduated up there, I worked in the summers like all teenagers and all these jobs, and I was a busboy. And I remember on a Saturday night, Gino the sleazy, actually wasn't that sleazy, but he had the sleazy appearance, Gino, who owned the restaurant, he saw me bussing tables. He said, Larry, he said, come here. You see that guy over there? He said, I'm going to teach you something. He said, you see that guy over there in that restaurant? There was the other busboy. He said, look at him. He's cleaning the table.
Hey, listen, there's a lot of information online, but there aren't a lot of people who've actually done something. In my case, I've actually built a successful business that's accrued over $5 billion in assets under management and has done well even during trying times. Now, if you want to know exactly how I've done this, go to weidelandwinning.com/webinar now. I've compressed a decade of learning into 5 short weeks just for those of you who want to give yourself an incredible advantage and are tired of waiting and watching others move up.
He's got no rhyme or reason. He goes from table to table. He does it different every God blessed table, and he's taking forever. He'll pick up a fork and a couple of glasses, then a plate, and then this and that. And the next table, he'll start with a plate first, and then he'll get a couple of spoons. And, he said, it's just every table is an adventure. He said, Larry, let me show you how to bus a table. And he went, it was a thing of beauty. He went, and with one swoop around the table, he grabbed up all the plates and stuck them, there. And then with another swoop of his hand, he grabbed up all the glasses, stuck them on the thing. And then in the next swoop, he grabbed up all the silverware. That was essentially how quick he did it. Like zoop, zoop, zoop. He said, done. He said, no matter what it is you're doing, have a system for it. Because when you get a system, it can get it done without thinking. And the more you do it, the more efficient and skillful you're going to be able to do it. And then you can teach it to somebody else. And so I got my first lesson on systems with Gino at, like 11:30 at night at a restaurant in West Hampton. And, but that was in my mind, and he was very successful at running those things. So having a system and knowing how to create a system, because you got principles of design, big things working with medium things, with little things. Like if you're going to be a script, my son was telling me about how they do the, like if you're writing stories, you always have to have a beginning, middle, and end. And then halfway through the beginning to the middle, you've got to have a oops or an oh crap moment. You get off in the adventure, introduce the family, there's that. And then he said, then you have the oh crap, something goes all wrong and everybody's all in fear. And then they start working on that, And so there's a formula behind all of these movies there's like 5 or 6 styles of movies, the hero saga, the this saga, that, but they all follow a formula. And so once you know that, you can start to make sense out of things. You learn where to make the variety and have all kind of craziness, but it's craziness that holds people together and holds their interest rather than driving them off. And so learning how to do that, because you learn that you have to have a variety. You have to have an oh crap moment. You have to orchestrate these things in where you kind of keep the pot stirring and people challenging. And the thing in learning when to create a contest or things like that, because here's the deal. Most people learn most of their information when they're in the startup mode, Bill, because they're forced to learn a whole lot of stuff real fast. And you could, that's in interviewing people on the podcast, that comes up time and time again, how much learning happened when they decided to make a big shift or when they launched. And the thing is, when you put your organization into overdrive, that's when the biggest changes for the good can happen to your organization, because you shake out the weak parts, the people who don't really care or whatever. You wind up naturally they just wind up going away because they just don't want to be bothered. They don't want to keep up. They don't want to put that much into it, but they can get along just fine as long as you're not having any special challenges in there. But knowing when to hit the accelerator as a leader, knowing when to not, knowing how to keep things on track. The design thing, Bill, helped me 1,000 ways. Even starting and finishing a contest, marketing a contest. You come up with an idea for your team, but you got to be able to name it. And you got to brand that contest. And it's got to be something that instantly makes sense to them. They get it. Because if you have a lousy name, then you spend all your time explaining, and then they still don't understand. Well, they push things they can understand, and they can't get excited about something they don't understand. So, all of this stuff, and even the materials, the posters and the handouts, the awards, all of that just gave me an incredible advantage.
If you enjoyed what you've heard and are dead serious about finding out for yourself exactly how this works in the real world, I've taken the most valuable business lessons I've learned over 40 years and put them into something for you to watch. Go to weidelandwinning.com/webinar now in order to move up as fast as possible. I'm Larry Weidel, and I run the $1 Million Mastermind. Go, go, go.